I said, I have mental health issues. And, I said also I thought that woman was white and it wasn't anything about race. It was about Iran.
Right.
And it was like, well, we'll see how this washes out.
That's what they said.
Ben
to you?
Sherman, yeah.
We'll see how this washes out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And then
because this
20
is,
minutes later, Wanda Sykes tweeted, "Let me off this show." And then Sarah Gilbert tweeted shortly thereafter something about she was ashamed of one cast member. And that one blew me away. And Michael Fishman tweeted that he was ashamed of my racism or some shit. And that was hard to take. But it was because it seemed orchestrated because they used the same words, egregious, unforgivable. But in fact, it might have been offensive. And like when I was talking to Mike today, I said, we all say things that are racially insensitive at times. All of us do that. I'm a Jew. I've heard everything. And, or ethnically offensive to somebody. But that doesn't mean we're the KKK, okay?
Right.
That doesn't mean we're, fascists or, and especially if we apologize. Because most people who are offensive, they mean to be offensive and they don't apologize. And I think that's when you know there's a difference. And if you don't have the discretion to understand that, something's wrong with you.
right.
And I think something's wrong with people, that they're so hateful and so unforgiving. And if you don't vote the way they think you should vote, that they feel justified in being so, so sanctimonious and self-righteous. And when they themselves are, kind of saying far more offensive things about people's children and such, for instance.
I think people are just cowards. And I think when things like this happen, they want to separate themselves from controversy and make sure that they're not a part of the people that are being attacked.
I can understand that.
I can kind of understand it, but I don't get it.
But that's what they do, And, I'm like, wow. They also get really, really upset when a few years later somebody does the exact same thing to them.
Yeah.
And what goes around comes around, and that's true, and especially true in Hollywood. The guy that fired me just was fired a couple weeks ago.
For what?
I don't know. His contract wasn't renewed.
Mm.
And his last words were, "Well, I didn't know I'd be forced to cancel our #1 show."
He wasn't forced to do anything.
Well, he might have been forced.
They're all fools. They should have just, first of all, they should have let the dust settle. Second of all, they should have examined what you actually said and what your intentions were and let you apologize.
Yeah.
And then have a conversation with you on one of their shows in long form.
You mean a teaching moment, such as if Valerie Jarrett would have accepted that?
Yeah.
I said I would like to debate her on the Iran deal and explain what I said.
Well, even that's not necessary. I mean, look,
Americans should know about that deal.
Well, maybe they should, but I don't think that's completely related to your tweet.
But it would have been a teachable moment.
Maybe. But it also would have been a distraction from what you were trying to say.
Well, they didn't let me say it.
Right.
And,
but to get involved, like, openly, politically, on a television show.
I know, that's dangerous, but Taylor Swift just did it.
What did she say? Just get out and vote? But
vote for the Democrat.
Yeah, but wasn't that like, it's almost abstract. Get out and vote. She's not.
No, she said vote for the Democrat. I don't like the Republican, Marsha Blackburn. She didn't like her, although Marsha Blackburn has been the author of a lot of great anti-rape laws and all kinds of stuff like that. But she didn't like her because she's a Republican. So she took a stand, a political stand. I guess, some people can do it.
Yeah.
But some people can't. And the political stand I took, which I just want to remind people, is that I'm an independent. That's my stance. And I just thought both sides had gone too far out and needed to talk to each other. So I came back and did a show about that.
Well, that's the stance you took with your show.
Yeah, and in my life. It's like, if we can't even discuss things, that's really, really bad.
I'm sure.
That's not American. We discuss and debate. We don't label and blacklist.
We certainly can talk things. And maybe that's something that you could have done once they had a conversation with you about your tweet. But I mean, I just think that what they did was just very hasty and very foolhardy. And they should have known who you were beforehand. They should have known about your mental health issues. They should know. They should have known about your medication issues, all of those things.
They knew.
But this is what my point was. If you have a person with a broken leg and they can't run, and you get mad at them because they can't run, isn't that ridiculous? Well, if you have a person that has brain issues, and then they do something that's erratic, and you're mad at them for that, well, you're a fucking idiot. That's stupid. And you call them a racist or chastise them in front of the world so that you remove any possible negative opinions that could be cast your way. I mean, that's what a lot of it is deflection. They're worried about negative opinions and negative feedback that's going to come their way, so they immediately turn on you. They turn on you in a disproportionate way.
Well, they did cancel the show before even one advertiser had pulled out. It reminds me of Sarah Silverman's bit, I'm for against it. Remember that? I'm for against it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of cowardice going on. There's a lot of people trying to save their jobs, and people panic because people are aware of the outrage culture that we live in. This is an outraged nation right now. It's one of our number one forms of recreation. People love it. They love getting mad at whoever the fuck it is. As long as you react the way they want you to react, ooh, they love it.
It's an inquisition.
Well, it's the understanding that people have way more power to affect change, whether it's good change or bad change. They're pushing buttons with social media and with outrage and with their ability to express themselves. It's unprecedented. There's never been a time like this in history.
No.
Where people
Salem.
The witch trials?
Yeah.
Right. Well, that was...
I mean, it's like, okay, well, if you swim, that proves you're a witch, and then we have to drown you. Wow. There's no, it's no, it has to, so there has to be a loser.
There has to be.
There can't be two winners.
Well, there has to be an understanding of what's happening here. And then people have to have an understanding of the power that they're wielding and what they're doing, and that it could turn back on them. And it does turn back on them.
It doesn't ever just stop at one person. That's why I said I'm surprised that a lot more comics didn't defend me, because, you know, this means that anything they find in your timeline that they think is offensive, they can mischaracterize and bring a whole battle against you that you can't possibly win, and take your life's work.
Well, how many did defend you?
Nobody defended me.
Well, I did.
You did, thank you.
Stanhope did.
Stanhope did, yeah.
I
thought you meant on that were working with me.
No, none of them that worked with you. Well, everybody that worked with you wanted to keep their job.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them. They probably, needed the money and probably already spent it.
Well, the other thing, too, the sitcom life, that fucking schedule is ruthless. It's grueling.
But you know what I think it was? A lot of it was, I gave him the gun to shoot me. I mean,
yes.
I wasn't a helpless victim, although I think my explanation either makes sense or doesn't make sense. But
well, if you're compassionate, it makes sense.
Yeah, but a lot of people aren't. But I forgot what I was going to say.
I don't even know if they're not compassionate, Roseanne. I think they're scared. I think they're just chicken shit. I don't think they're looking at it in terms of like, I can't win here and I can't lose here. Let me just look at what's right. See, I didn't have anything to win or lose. So when I looked at it, I looked at you as someone that I admire, someone that I think is one of the best comics ever, who I know that you have mental health issues. I knew from talking to you that you were on Ambien, and I knew you had alcohol as well. I know what that does. My mom took Ambien. She woke up in the middle of the night and drew all over she had a bathroom rug, drew all over it with lipstick and nail polish. She said like a little kid. So she woke up in the morning, she had no idea she did it. She's terrified of that shit. She won't take it now. I have many friends that have had bad experiences on Ambien.
I have too, and I thought, well, they shouldn't have shut down that conversation like that.
They shouldn't have. It's a fucking dangerous drug for the wrong people in the wrong situations, especially when you mix it with alcohol. I mean, it's beneficial to people that need sleep in certain situations. I don't recommend it. I don't take it, but some people like it. That's fine. But to ignore what the actual pharmacological effect on the human body is ridiculous, because there's studies on this shit. And that people understand the interaction between chemicals and the human brain, and they're erratic. And especially when you mix them with things you're not supposed to mix them with. Weird shit happens.
Yeah, I thought that tweet, I thought I was going to expand on it in the morning and, talk about that movie and
Too late.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It was too late.
But the whole thing is just fucking crazy.
Well, they told me not to tweet.
Yeah. Well, it's probably a good idea, but now, honestly, the problem also with Twitter is that fucking text is just too simple.
Yeah.
It's too crude a way of communicating. It
Yeah,
really is. I mean,
it
you can get
really
across
is.
some ideas. Like you can say, hey, I went to see Littlefoot. It's a great movie. That's a good
Yeah.
thing to tweet.
Yeah.
Real simple shit like that. But
Yeah.
we want to talk about like political things or things that involve nuance or things that are complex. I just don't think it's the way to communicate.
I
think-
don't either anymore.
No. I think it's a terrible way to communicate.
Yeah.
You know, and I
Well,
think...
it's not communicate. It's like, what did he say? Search and destroy.
Well, for some folks, yeah. There's going to be people that always want to make things crash and burn. They like
Yeah,
it. They like
do
hitting
like
the
it.
buttons. They like hitting the buttons.
They like to see people suffer.
Well, they definitely are suffering themselves. Look, there's a giant percentage of our population that lives in misery.
I know it.
They do all day long, and they have mental health issues. They're exhausted. They're depressed. They have despair. They're overwhelmed with bills. They're in shitty relationships. They're overwhelmed, and they're angry. And they look at someone like you, a rich white lady, and they're like, fuck that bitch, and they just want to attack you. And it doesn't have to make sense, because it's a reflection of their own personal pain as much as it's a reflection of their irresponsibility with this power that they're wielding through social media. And then there's the mob mentality.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people that are already going after you. Good, I'm going to go after her too. I'm going to show the world that I'm not racist. You know how I'm going to do that? I'm going to shit all over this racist Roseanne. They don't care if you're really racist.